On a humid afternoon in 1992, Venezuelan air traffic controllers sat in their usual positions, monitoring the skies for routine flights. Suddenly, an unidentified aircraft appeared on their radar, moving steadily as if following a scheduled route. But when they checked the logs, there was no record of any incoming flight matching its description. The situation became even more baffling when the control tower attempted to make contact. "This is Caracas Tower. Please identify yourself." A moment of static filled the room before a voice crackled through the speakers. It was weak, laced with confusion, but unmistakably human. "This is Pan Am Flight 914, en route from New York to Miami. What year is this?" The air traffic controllers froze. That flight number had been retired decades ago. How was this possible? As the plane approached the runway, the controllers noticed something eerie. This aircraft was an old Pan American Airlines DC-4, a model that had long been retired. It showed no signs of aging, as if it had been frozen in time. When the aircraft touched down, the runway crew hesitated before approaching. The engines worked down, the wheels skidded slightly, and then silence for a moment. Time itself seemed to pause. The crew gathered around as the cabin door creaked open. Then they saw them. The passengers, 57 men, women, and children, sat in their seats, their eyes wide with confusion. They were alive, they were breathing, but their clothes, hairstyles, and even their newspapers were untouched by time, frozen in 1955. A flight attendant peeked out from the doorway, gripping the side of the entrance with trembling fingers. Her gaze darted across the modern airport, at the unfamiliar planes and vehicles outside. "Where are we?" she asked. "What's happening?" The passengers and crew had no idea. They had been missing for 37 years. To them, mere hours had passed. Their watches still showed the date as July 2nd, 1955. Their newspapers had headlines about Eisenhower's presidency. Even their cigarettes, which were legal on flights back then, remained half-burned in the ashtrays. Medical teams rushed to examine them, but there was something even more disturbing. None of the passengers had aged a single day. Their fingerprints, dental records, and IDs all matched exactly with what had been recorded in 1955. As the authorities attempted to piece together the impossible event, the pilot, an older man with silvered hair and his sharp uniform, suddenly panicked. He pushed past the medics, rushed back to the cockpit, and shouted, "We have to go back. They're coming!" Before anyone could stop him, he powered up the engines. The air traffic control tower erupted into chaos as the mysterious aircraft lurched forward, speeding down the runway. A bright, blinding light suddenly engulfed the plane. For days, the Venezuelan government tried to piece together what had happened. Security footage showed the aircraft landing, the passengers stepping into view, and then the blinding flash. Every radar record confirmed the impossible. An outdated plane, missing for 37 years, had landed only to disappear again. The incident wasn't just a mystery, it was a scandal. The press got hold of the story, and within hours, news agencies worldwide were reporting the return and disappearance of Pan Am Flight 914. Scientists, aviation experts, and conspiracy theorists scrambled to make sense of it. Some claimed it was a government cover-up, an experiment gone wrong. Others believed the plane had traveled through time, caught in some kind of rift in reality. A few even suggested extraterrestrial involvement, but one chilling piece of evidence sent shockwaves through the world. Among the witnesses on the tarmac that day was an air traffic controller named Juan de la Corte. As the plane had taxied toward the runway before vanishing, something had fluttered down from the open cabin door, a small, yellowed booklet. A passenger manifest. The document was old, but perfectly preserved. It contained the names of all 57 passengers, their assigned seats, and details of their journey from New York to Miami. But one chilling piece of evidence sent shockwaves through the world. Among the witnesses on the tarmac that day was an air traffic controller named Juan de la Corte. As the plane had taxied toward the runway before vanishing, something had fluttered down from the open cabin door, a small, yellowed booklet. A passenger manifest the document was old, but perfectly preserved. It contained the names of all 57 passengers, their assigned seats, and details of their journey from New York to Miami. After the plane vanished, some of the relatives of the missing passengers, many now elderly, began receiving phone calls. The voices on the other end were familiar but distant, filled with static, as if speaking through a long tunnel. "Mom, it's me. Where is Dad? Where are you?" One woman, now in her 80s, fainted when she heard the voice of her husband, missing for decades, calling her name. But before she could respond, the line went dead. Authorities traced the calls, but the numbers were impossible long strings of digits that didn't correspond to any known country code. It was as if the calls had come from nowhere or from somewhere. In 1995, 3 years after the plane's brief return, a classified file from a secret U.S. military division was leaked. It contained reports of strange aerial anomalies over the Bermuda Triangle, a notorious region where ships and planes had vanished for decades. One report stood out, dated July 2, 1955, the exact date Flight 914 disappeared. It described an unknown object appearing on military radar for exactly 2 minutes before vanishing. The object was a perfect match for a DC for aircraft. It seemed that, for those 37 years, Pan Am Flight 914 had existed somewhere else. In 2018, a retired air traffic controller from Caracas Airport was found dead in his home, clutching an old radio receiver. Authorities discovered he had been obsessively scanning frequencies for years, trying to make contact with Flight 914, but what shocked investigators was the last recording on the device, a grainy, static-filled message. "This is Captain Miguel Victor of Pan Am Flight 914. We are still flying. If anyone can hear me, we are trying to come home, but they won't let us." Then silence. The case remains open, and to this day, no one knows when or if Flight 914 will return again. The world moved on, but the mystery of Pan Am Flight 914 never faded. Governments denied knowledge, skeptics dismissed it as a hoax, and those who had witnessed it firsthand were silenced, some by fear, others by unknown forces. But the truth was far from over. In 2021, a storage facility in New York auctioned off unclaimed items from abandoned units. Among the dusty boxes and forgotten heirlooms, one beer discovered something extraordinary: a weathered leather-bound notebook. Inside, it contained handwritten entries from Captain Miguel Victor. It began as a normal flight log, recording the journey from New York to Miami on July 2, 1955, but then the entries became frantic. July 2, 1955, 1:14 p.m. Something is wrong. Clouds just swallowed us whole. No storm reported, no turbulence. Just thick, white fog, instruments malfunctioning. Compass spinning, no radio contact, crew uneasy. July 2, 1955, 1:37 p.m., passengers panicking. We are no longer over the ocean. Below us is land. But it's not Miami, not Florida, not anywhere I've ever seen. Strange, flat plains with massive, dark structures in the distance, no signs of life, no sun. Just a pale glow in the sky. July 2, 1955, 1:50 p.m. They are here. The following pages were filled with erratic, shaky handwriting. Strange symbols, sketches of tall, shadowy figures with elongated heads and hollow eyes. Diagrams of unknown aircraft surrounding the plane. But the last entry, dated July 2, 1990 to 37 years later, was the most disturbing. We are going back. They are letting us go, but we cannot speak. If we try, they will find us again. We are not alone in the sky. And we never were. The notebook ended there. The discovery of Captain Victor's notebook reignited global interest in Flight 914. Scientists and theorists debated its authenticity. Linguists struggled to decipher the strange symbols. The book was sent for forensic testing, and what they found sent chills down every expert's spine. The ink used in the final entry, dated 1992, was only a few days old. Someone, somewhere, had continued writing in the pilot's log, as if time had no meaning for them. Weeks after the notebook was made public, eerie events began unfolding. Families of the missing passengers, some of whom had already passed away, started receiving phone calls again. One man, now 75, answered a call in the middle of the night. A voice on the other end whispered, "Dad, it's me. I see the city lights ahead." "We're almost home." The line went dead. Another woman received a call from an unknown number. The message was brief but chilling. "Don't let them take us again." In late 2022, a long-range radio transmission was intercepted by an independent ham radio operator in Argentina. The voice, barely audible through static, matched old recordings of Captain Miguel Victor. "This is Pan Am Flight 914. We are returning. We are not alone. If you can hear this, beware the skies. They are watching then." Silence. Since that day, there have been reports of unidentified aircraft appearing briefly on radars worldwide only to vanish moments later. Pilots speak in hushed tones about strange lights in the clouds, about radio transmissions that whisper in languages long forgotten. Pan Am Flight 914 may have disappeared, but the mystery is far from over. Some say it will return once more, others believe it never truly left. And in the darkest corners of the world, where the skies stretch endlessly into the unknown, the question remains, what else is out there?